IPL Radio, inspiring passionate lives.
Hello, IPL community. You are back with Karen, and we're still on Motivational Monday, but today we have an amazing guest with us, who's Madeleine King, who is our federal member for brand. Welcome.
Oh, thanks, Karen. It's such a delight to be here. It's really great. And a great new offices. What an amazing studio setup you're getting together here. I think it's so positive.
Isn't it amazing? So much space. Were you over in our other?
Yeah, I first interviewed in your old premises, and I was a bit sad when I saw it coming down a bit. There were things changing, but when I heard that you'd moved here to these big new premises, which offer so much more opportunity for more people to come and help out and volunteer and get involved, I just think it's just terrific.
It is perfect location next to the shops.
Absolutely, right next to the shops. Yeah.
It's a good and bad thing.
Yeah, well, okay, it's very tempting, isn't it? That's the problem.
It is. So, Madeleine, just for our listeners, can you tell us a bit about your background and why you got into politics?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Karen. So, well, I grew up around here. I was actually born in Callista, and then I grew up in Safety Bay and Shoalwater Bay. I went to school down at Safety Bay Primary and finished school at Safety Bay High. And a lot of my friends, in fact, just yesterday at the Rockingham Beach Cup, I ran into a couple of friends that I went to high school with down at the Cruising Yacht Club there. So to be able to be the elected representative of the area in which I grew up in is a true honour for me. So, and that's part of the reason I got involved and asked to run as the member for brand, because this is my home. It's where I'm from. It's where many of my friends are from. So, and my family, of course. So it's really important to me and a privilege for me to have been elected by the community twice now in 2 elections to be able to represent the place I call home.
Isn't that amazing? Do you ever get nervous going up for election?
Oh, it's terrifying.
I can imagine it being the worst. It's like wow.
Yeah, it's because and you're putting yourself out there, of course, and what you say is listened to more than it may have been, and that's why I really have a lot of respect for all the people that stood for the recent council elections. I think that putting yourself out there and nominating for public office is a big step for a lot of people to be publicly scrutinised, and people take it very seriously, and that's why the votes in these things are really important as well.
It is, and we did speak with many of the people who went for the mayor role here, and it was interesting because it was a whole different way of doing it. I suppose it's change, and that's always a positive move forward, isn't it?
Yeah, well, at the mayor election was good and it was run very well, I think, and for those candidates who are already on council, it was good to hear more from each candidate. I think that was really positive for the community.
Absolutely.
And for everyone else that was a first-time candidate, I thought that's good too, But it's courageous as well. You've got to put yourself out there, and that's sometimes social media can be a bit harsh these days, and I think trying to keep it all at a nice civil and community level is what's really important.
How big do you think intentions, if you come from the best of intentions, and focus on the positives that you are, obviously you are being elected because you're making positive progress in the community and things like that, and showing up and engaging well with everyone. So is it, you need to focus on that and,
Yeah, I think so. You need to focus on being involved and communicating with people, and also letting people communicate with you or me as the elected representative. I think that's really important, giving people a chance to raise issues that they might have. And that's why we always, whether it's on social media or also letterbox drops, it's a call for people to talk, let us know what problems you're facing. Ring my office anytime if you've got an issue that we might not be able to help, but we'll do our best to try and help you find the people that can help you best. So that's kind of what we want to do as an electorate officer.
Solution based. You've been in my letterbox a few times.
Have I?
I
hope you don't
Wonderfully. It's always nice. It's never a negative.
Oh, good.
What's your biggest achievement since becoming an MP?
Well, that's a difficult question. I mean, it's a challenging role. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think I was really tremendously honoured to go into the shadow ministry in my first term. But then when Anthony Albanese asked me to be the shadow minister for resources, that was really important to me as a Western Australian, knowing our economy is based on the resources industry and all those who work in it was really important, and also the trade portfolio, which is an internationally significant part of what Western Australia and Australia does. So that was a big achievement, and then carrying out that role has been, you know, one of the really more interesting experiences of my life.
I love the word interesting.
Yeah. You know, it's got good and bad as always.
Of course.
So it's been great, and you know what I really want to do is win an election for the Labor Party so I can be the Minister for Resources or the Minister for Trade. So that's what I'm really focused on.
Amazing. And that's when you focus on that and put your energy into it, you know, and showing up and engaging and just doing what you do and being yourself. It's in the process, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
How has being an MP affected your family life?
Well, it certainly changes it. That's for sure. There's a lot of travel, and you know, I go to Canberra a minimum of 22 weeks a year, so you know that takes out a lot of time at home. And before the COVID restrictions came out, it was a little bit easier because we could come home for weekends. But now you have to stay in Canberra for the fortnight, and then 2 weeks quarantine on the other side. So that's really difficult. You know, on the flip side of that is because there's been no international travel, I haven't had to do any international travel. So that's given me more time back at home. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts, I suppose.
There's a balance in it all.
And we all want to be open. We all want to be able to travel and do what we want to do. But in the time we've had to stay, you know, more localised in Western Australia, I think a lot of people are the same. Made the most of it as best I can. You know, done a bit more gardening than I might have once. So
it's good for the soul, isn't it?
That's it. But it's certainly, Parliament takes up a lot of time away from home and away from the community too, right? And I think people sometimes think, oh, where is she? Why isn't she there? Well, I can't be, because part of my job is representing this community in our national capital, in our federal parliament, and you know that's what I go there to do, and I love doing that too.
You have to show up, don't you?
You have to show up. You absolutely do.
How, you know, that would be full on, and you know all of the energy. You can imagine it. You're switched on all of the time. So, you know, quarantine might be a bit of a blessing to catch up with yourself. You know, that's just I always say quarantine is like an author or business owner's, you know, dream, but a parent's nightmare.
Well, I think that is right. And I've got to say, I didn't hate it. You know, and I got a lot of work done, a lot of catch-up work done, which was good because, you know, still did meetings online, but not the driving takes time to get to other things face-to-face. So it gives you another perspective. But yeah, I can imagine, and for the you know, our friends and families on the East Coast that have had those lockdowns, like it's been really challenging with schools being shut and so forth. And you know, I think of them, and I'm really glad that, you know, we're coming out the other side. We're
very lucky over here, I have to admit. We already talked about challenges, but who has been your biggest role model?
Well, I guess in my life, obviously I think of my parents a lot as role models, and their kindness and attitude to life and tradition and things like that. But if I think of beyond my family, Julie Gillard's a great role model for me, and now in a time when she's past being Prime Minister, just the way she remains a dignified figure in Australian politics and is not having the fights that some of the other men that were Prime Ministers are engaging in at the moment. And I think Julia was just a consultative leader, in my opinion, and now in her post-political life, she's been, you know, a productive contributor that is not, you know, throwing stones like some others are. So, you know, I try to, you know, I don't say what would Julia do, but sometimes I do, because I think, you know, she was a very calm, considered woman and remains that. So, you know, I do look up to her as a figure.
Isn't it amazing? And no coincidence she's a woman. You know, that's the thing. And men can do it too. You can still be kind and considerate and make those types of choices as
and
well.
Also
it
move
is a
on,
thing.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just moved on in a productive, positive fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. Apart from the coming back and doing the 2 weeks quarantine, how else has COVID affected your office?
Well, it's changed. So in the midst of the COVID last year, you know, we did a lot more phone calls, like just calling into the community, especially the elderly, to check that they were right, because we couldn't have the doors open and that kind of thing. We did a lot less outreach, like physical outreach into the community, you know, no door knocking or mobile offices, because it just wasn't appropriate in those times. So that's changed how we operate, but also what people were calling about changed. So you remember when we started into the COVID crisis, there were queues out the front of the Centrelink here in Rockingham, and that was, people were really worried about what was going to happen. So we spent a lot of time on the phone talking to people that just didn't know what was happening. I can't say that we knew much more, but we would try to find out for people and reassure them and keep in contact with people that were the most troubled by the uncertainty that COVID brought around. So as that's changed now, things settled down, because of how it was managed here in Western Australia, and that's very positive. So, we're getting out there a bit more and doing more of those public meetings. Had a little mobile office today down in Railway Terrace, so people can just walk up and say hello and let us know what they're thinking, and, we chase things up if we can and just listen to people's concerns.
That is fabulous. I must have just missed you because I was up there today too.
Oh, yeah. I think we went a bit early today. But I think it's the busiest place in town because they're cleaning up from the Rockingham Beach Cup at the moment. So.
Absolutely. Ali, my co-host, she was in earlier and she was talking about the Beach Cup and how she's seen you there. And she was going to come over, but she said, no, we'll just leave it for tomorrow.
Oh, I think anyone can come and say hi. I really love to chat. So.
It is. And the Beach Cup was such a successful, beautiful and great weather for it.
You couldn't have cast it better. You could not have hoped for more. And it was a really great event. And you got to take your hat off to the Rotary Club of Palm Beach, who have been trying to do this event and have done this event for a number of years now. Yeah. But the work that would have gone into that first one and to get the momentum up, and they're real leaders in our community that raised a lot of money for the Rotary Club to help the disadvantaged and others. And I really take my hat off to all the volunteers around that whole production. It's nothing less than a massive production. It's
and a really huge experience for everyone, and the visuals.
Good to promote Rockingham, my hometown and where I grew up. So I'm so proud of what they were able to achieve and so proud of the event itself.
Yeah, it did. And even to choose the perfect weekend to have it, like how could they have known? Yeah. Get in touch with Mother Nature and everything.
Line that all up, yeah.
If Labour got in next year, what would you do differently?
Well, it's a long way to go for that, so I don't want to preempt anything. But we'll be more positive, I think, about the country, and we've got policies that we're talking about that help more people than maybe some of the government policies do now. And I'm thinking of universal childcare. So, more people can have their children, if they want to, no one has to go to early education, which is a really most, important part of a child's learning opportunities is those early years. And to have that available to more people so that more women can get back to work if they want to, or even just take a few more hours and not have to stress about whether it's more expensive to go to work or to send your child off to early learning and childcare, I think is a really important thing. But most of all, I think personally for me, it's about getting the opportunity to listen to more people to hear about their concerns so that we can introduce policies that actually fix some of the core problems in our community. And they're really important problems. Like there are people that are being left behind and everyone needs a bit of help sometimes, and we've got to be really generous about that and not cast aside people that need a bit of help. So, that's the kind of ethos behind Labor. Like some people call it the fair go. I just think it's about being fair and helping people that might need more help than others. Yeah,
just hold out that hand so they can catch up.
Well, and get people on their way into their own independence, right? Yeah. So that's important too, but sometimes through no fault of one's own or through fault of one's own, you can get stuck in a place that sometimes you can't see help from. And I think there is a role for government in making sure people aren't left behind and left in those dark situations, and we help them out.
Absolutely. Oh, here for that. We are all for that, absolutely. Let me just see what we have got down here. What are your priorities if you get elected? There we go. You've got to put it out there, Madeleine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I said before about, as an Anthony Albanese Labor government would want to introduce, childcare, universal access for that. But there's also building Australia back in an Australian-made fashion, right? Yeah. So it's about introducing incentives for manufacturing in Australia so that more things are built here. And we kind of let a lot of our homegrown capacities wither a bit in the past decade, and I think it's a change of government is a chance to renew that. And also post-COVID, it's about recovering from COVID and making sure everyone's part of that recovery. So we create more Australian jobs right across the country. We know in WA it's pretty low unemployment, which is a really positive thing. Yeah. But that's not the case everywhere around the country, and we've got to really look to that to make sure we can make more things, we create better skills opportunities for younger people, right through from the early learning through primary, high school and then beyond, right, so vocational university education, and making sure more people get the opportunity to participate in the Australian economy and, build great things here that we can then sell to the rest of the world. So that's a lot of priorities all in one. I do appreciate that.
It's all inclusive, really, and just having, helping every avenue so that, and it's the being heard, letting everyone be heard, because they're, for my experience from what we're in business or whatever, if you're hearing from that, then it might, help somebody else or help put something in place that helps things flow. It's just, people have great ideas because they've experience behind them.
Look, they absolutely do. And I think sometimes people, because they're so busy, they got family life or their business life, it's hard to share your good ideas, or sometimes you might think your idea's not worth much, whereas it would be really good to get more of those ideas out, because there's always an idea might not be perfectly formed, but sharing it with lawmakers and policymakers allows others to help you make it a bit more advanced and a bit better. So I think listening to more people would be a good thing for any new government to do.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. What's happening about the cashless pension card?
Yeah, this is controversial, and it's a bit of a bugbear of mine, and I'm really quite angry at the government about their failure to rule it out. So what's happened is there's trialling systems around the country for cashless welfare cards. So, you're restricted, certain communities are restricted from buying certain things and they can only go to certain shops. But the government introduced legislation earlier this year that enabled it to go wider and to more age pensioners. And for age pensioners, this is a bit rich, right? Because it's not really welfare; it's an entitlement based on many years of work and contribution to our system. And the government's had plenty of chances to rule this out and to say no, we're not going to put age pensioners on it. But then the minister and Ruston responsible then will say, I think it should be considered more widely. And Matt Canavan, the senator from Queensland, has said there's opportunities for the cashless welfare card to go more widely. And if it does, what it means for pensioners is that they won't be able to spend their pension as they choose. So
where's the freedom?
Where's the freedom? And what's the point of this as well, right? So a government shouldn't control your benefit that you have earned by your many years of contributing to society. So it means you might not be able to put the $5 in your Christmas cash, in the Christmas card for your grandkids, or the lotto tickets will be harder to get because you're not allowed to spend that card in certain places. And the worst thing about it, I think, is that it centres on only certain shops, which are the big grocery stores, right? Not the littler grocery stores. So I think that's really unfortunate that people get forced to shop in certain places as well. And so no farmers markets or none of the little grocery stores that some people
especially have. When you've got your rhythm of life, how and it makes you feel comfortable and safe. Yeah. And if you have to change that, it's like changing your whole existence.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If you've done it one way. And the end of this is that there'll be a bill coming before Parliament next fortnight, and if the government wants to rule it out, they can vote for that, and then that'll be the end of that, and that'll be a really good thing to scrap the cashless welfare card for age pensioners. So they've got every opportunity to do it in a fortnight.
It's interesting, isn't it? We'll watch this space and see what happens. But it's a pity that the energy has to be projected on it in the first place.
It really is. And it came to our attention through age pensioners themselves ringing my office and saying we've seen this because and
we're worried.
We're worried, and
we want to be heard
for us. And I say, heck yeah, I can fight for you. You're right. Like, you don't need to be placed in this kind of restrictive position with the lack of freedom to spend your own money. It's a disgrace. So anyhow, with any luck, the government will see sense and abolish this, because if they don't and we get elected, we will.
There we go. You heard it here, guys.
Yeah.
You're also doing a Christmas drawing competition. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. So that's it's a drawing competition, not a colouring competition.
Yes.
So, creatives, please apply.
What's the age range?
I think we're open age range, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah, we're absolutely open age range. So
I can get the kids doing it and myself doing it.
There's 4 prizes. So large hampers for each prize winner. Some of it will include my honey. I'm a beekeeper, so I've got some local honey will go into the hamper. And we're asking people to just draw their favourite Christmas scene. It might be from memories from being overseas, or it might be, around the house at Christmas, that kind of thing. So it's really, whatever you want to do, and it should be a bit of fun. We're looking forward to seeing the entries.
Get those creative imaginations going.
Absolutely. So it's on my Facebook page. People can have a look at the...
We will share.
There's not many rules. So.
Well, that's what we need with creativity, just an open canvas just to get going.
Lots of colour.
Yeah. Can you imagine all these things flooding into your office?
I hope so. I really do. So I hope people get on board, because we love judging them too and having a look at all the things people do.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to cover?
No, Karen, just to say, my office is always there for people. Electorate officers are there to serve the constituents of Brand, which goes across Rockingham and Kwinana, and people shouldn't hesitate to get in touch with me through my email address or my phone, and let us know if there's something they think we might be able to help with. And even if we can't, as I said before, we will always try and find a pathway for someone to get help. So I would just keep in touch. People, we're there for you. That's I'm elected to help people of Brand to have better lives.
I bet you're the busiest woman in Rockingham.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. There's some pretty busy people around here. It's a very busy community.
Well, thank you so much for coming in to join us. Before you go, is there any songs you would like to request us to play?
Look, I'm gonna request one. My sister's in town and she hasn't been able to come over for a little while. She's from Cairns, and we once went to a concert together in Cairns, one of Elton John's last concerts. Yeah. So I don't know if you've got Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
We will. We
will
do that for you,
yeah,
absolutely, today, and we dedicate it to you. Thank you so much, Madeleine. An absolute joy and pleasure to meet you.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.